Earlier this summer, some friends and I visited the Museum of Illusions in Denver. Cool place, particularly this tile puzzle that we spent like 20 minutes solving. I thought it would make a good project, but in a slightly more portable size. I'll be using yellow birch, ash, walnut, and maple. I'll make the tiles first, then the board later to fit. On the table saw, the half-inch thick ash gets made into 9 tiles. 4 squares that are 1.5 by 1.5 inches, and 5 rectangles that are 1.5 by 3 inches. When the pieces get small, I use double-sided tape to hold them to the sled and keep my fingers out of the way. The walnut is a 1/4 inch thick, and that'll get cut to a 3-inch square. The fact that this one is thinner is important, which we'll get to later. This can be made any size you want. In proportional terms, the small squares are 1 by 1, the rectangles are 1 by 2, and the large square is 2 by 2. To make it easier to slide these around, I'm going to drill a shallow divot into the center of all the tiles to act as a finger grip. With all the pieces cut, I'll arrange them and measure their area, adding about a 1/16 of an inch in both directions to give it some wiggle room. Then I'll cut that from the birch. Everything fits nicely. To contain everything, I'm going to use these strips of maple to make a border around the base. A poorly set up shot, but I'm cutting the maple to length here. One of the short sides needs a slot in it. This will be where the walnut piece has to escape out of, which is why that one's thinner. So that one can slide out, but the ash tiles can't. I'll mark it, drill an entry hole, and cut it out on the scroll saw. Next, I'll sand the base and sides. Now for the assembly. I'll glue 2 opposite sides on first. When that's dry, I can scrape off the glue squeeze out. Then the other sides are glued on. While that dries, I can work on sanding the tiles to soften all their sharp edges. Back to the board, I'll flatten the slot seam and sand its edges with a strip of sandpaper. Then I'll give the whole thing a final sanding. Lastly, I'm cutting some walnut feet for the bottom. I'll soften the bottom edges and glue them in place. Then remove any dried glue. Now I'll rub on an oil finish, let it soak in, then buff it off. For a little extra slideability, I'm also rubbing some paste wax onto the tiles. Same application. Rub it on, let it dry, then buff it off. And this puzzle is done. The object is to start with the pieces in this arrangement. Then slide them around until the walnut square can make it out the bottom slot. A simple premise, but tricky to defeat. I think this came out looking nice. It's a very simple, no-frills kind of project, but the natural wood just looks so pleasing. And those finger grips that I thought might be unnecessary are actually really useful. They make it a lot easier to move the tiles around. The other great thing about solid wood puzzles is that they make such lovely sounds as you play around with the pieces. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go solve this. Thanks for watching.